uh, for the rest of your classmates to join. While we wait for them, I just, I'm going to introduce myself for you to get to know me and my name and a little bit about me and what we are going to be doing in the class. So this class is going to be divided in three parts. I'm going to introduce myself on the first part of the class. On the second part of the class, we are going to be working on a diagnostic assessment. This diagnostic, as probably you have worked on previous classes before and in other classes, it's just for me to kind of have an idea of how much you learn or you remember, that's a better word, remember from what you were studying in Unit 1. And how much grammatical structure and vocabulary, what I need to do to move forward and to work better. Okay, that's going to be our second part of the class, the diagnostic assessment. If you don't know the answer to a question, there's not a problem. But if you do, I would like you to participate and to help me as much as you can. And the third part of the class and last part, it's going to be, I'm going to be explaining the 35%, the homework, right? And how you're going to be working and what it's about, the rubric and everything regarding to the homework assignments. Uh, so most of your classmates are here. So I guess I'm going to introduce myself by using a PowerPoint presentation. Bear with me a few seconds while I share. So hopefully you're going to be able to see it right now. So to start with, my name is Emilce Gonzalez. I'm going to be working with you in the English subject. My experience, I have been working or I have been a teacher for 16 years. And well, most of my experience is with the bilingual schools. Right now, I'm working also at the American School Extension. That's another job where I teach as well. My experience, as I said, is in history, but also grammar. I have been teaching grammar in literature in other schools as well. So as I was saying, this is me, 16 years of experience. Most of my experience is in history, right? European history, American history. But I also work with grammar, right? Grammar in English as a subject. Then about me, I like reading when I have the time. I like reading about, mystery and murder. And one of my favorite authors in that genre is Agatha Christie. I read a lot about her. So, but even though my favorite books or my favorite author is Agatha Christie, my favorite book is Anna Karenina of Leo Tolstoy. I really like this book. It's one of my favorites. When I'm not teaching or when I'm have free time, I'm watching cable TV. I really enjoy watching Investigation Discovery. Or probably you don't watch a lot of cable TV, but I do. And this is the channel you will see me watching. Then when I'm not watching cable TV, I'm probably on one of the streaming services or, one of those platforms. And these are the shows that I watch. Kind of like this is my taste in uh, TV shows. So that's to give you an idea of who I am. As I said, I have been teaching for 16 years, and I hope that I can help you with all of your doubts and all of your questions, and of course, improve on the language. Now, we finished with the first part of the class, which was introducing myself. Now, for the second part of the class, I'm going to present to you a few questions in regarding the topics that you were studying on the first term of this year. If, as I said before, if you don't know the answers for some of the questions, it's no problem. But if you do, I would really appreciate your participation and your knowledge, right? I just want to make sure that you have or you remember everything that you study on the first few months of the year. So here it is. Just a second. You're going to be able to see the screen. You're watching my screen right now. So the first one says, what will anybody like to read? A volunteer just to read number one. You don't have to provide an answer. Just go ahead and read number one. May volunteer, please?
Well, I remember that the epistolary genre is a genre when you tell a story using not how do you say narrar?
Yes. Very good. Excellent answer. So the epistolary genre is about a letter, right? Most of the times when you write a letter, well, it should be like that, right? You write a letter uh, to someone, is specifically directed to one person, right? And that person reads it. The letter has different purposes. You either want to inform of something, and you want to narrate something. But in this particular genre, it's about you use the format of a letter, but to narrate a story, to direct your message and to convey your message to a larger group of people. It's not this type of writing is not directed to one person in particular. It's more towards a group or certain amount of people. So thank you very much for your participating. Great answer. Now we have number two. What is a sketch? Does anybody? This is regarding, again, just to remind you, this is regarding what you were studying in the first term or the first months of the year on Unit 1. So it has to do with that. Who would like to answer number two? What is a sketch? Anybody? No? What do you remember, or what comes to mind when you hear the word sketch? Because there are several definitions that you can give. So, anybody, or do I select from the list? Go ahead.
It's a short video.
Yes, yeah, Could be. That's one of the definitions. Yes. And on the first term, you were studying about kind of like how art and writing and literature kind of merge and become one. And one of the examples that you were studying in term one was Van Gogh, right? And how he, with his art, he portrayed a lot of feelings and emotions. That's why he became really famous. And a sketch in this particular context has to do with a kind of like a raw first draft of a drawing, right? It's not finished. A sketch is not the art finish, is the beginning of that particular art or drawing. But also, a sketch can be used kind of in comedy. Sometimes they use this word just for you to know. Um, it's used to, people use it kind of to write short jokes about any situation. So that's another definition. So now we have number three, which is define what adjectives are and when they are used. Anybody, do you know? A volunteer, or do I call from the row of students? Again, anybody volunteers?
The adjectives describe a person or an animal or a thing.
Perfect answer. Excellent. Great. That's what adjectives are, right? They are words that we use to describe nouns and pronouns, and we use them as your classmate said to describe, right? You're giving characteristics about people, animals, and things. You can say that something is beautiful, or that someone is intelligent, that a dog or a thing is very useful. So there are a lot of things that can be described with adjectives, and that's kind of like the main purpose. Another purpose that you study with adjectives in the first term of the year, you were using adjectives to kind of compare. You were using um, as pretty as nice as, or as intelligent as you, when you use that particular grammar structure, you use it to compare. You can make equal comparisons, you can make unequal comparisons, or you can make with superlatives, right? When you're doing equal and unequal comparisons, you're talking about two things. And of course, when you're using superlatives, it's because you're comparing that one thing to the rest of the group that is similar to it, right? One's against all of the others. So that's how adjectives can be used as well. Now, does anybody know the 5 steps of the writing process? The 5 steps of the writing process? Anyone? There are five. Probably just to give you a clue or a hint, um, there are the same steps that you use in Spanish or in any of, whenever you're going to write an essay, whenever you're going to write a story, whenever you're going to write even a paragraph, you can use the writing process. So do you remember what are the 5 steps? Or if you don't remember the five, uh, at least one or two that you remember?
Free writing.
Yes, excellent. Very good. That's one of them. Excellent. And do you remember another one? Anybody? Go ahead, don't be shy. I want. So that's fun.
I
Like you,
eraser.
yes, very good. You have the pre-writing or brainstorming. The brainstorming and pre-writing is when you decide your teacher, either in Spanish or in English, gives you a topic, and he or she says that you have to write certain amount of words or paragraphs. So when this process helps people most of the time, when for people that have a hard time writing, this process makes writing easier because sometimes you have to write about topics that you don't know much about or that you are really not interested in. So the writing process helps with that because on the pre-writing stage, what you're doing is you're collecting ideas. All of the things that come to your mind, what you want to write about, what you want to include, depending on the amount of paragraphs that you're going to write. So that helps. In the second part, you're drafting, and in that part, you are selecting which ideas you want to write about, how you're going to arrange your essay or your story. Then you have to revise, right? Does it have a correct order? Can somebody understand my ideas? Do I have main ideas and supporting ideas? Am I using the appropriate vocabulary? And then comes the editing part. In the editing part, you can remove ideas and words and sentences that you think that are not helping with your purpose or your essay or your story. And then you publish. That's the last step, publishing. It's when you turn it into your teacher because it has already been revised and edited, and he or she can read it and he or she can understand everything that you wrote about. So those are the 5 steps, right? Just to recap, we have pre-writing, drafting, revising, editing, and publishing. Now, for question number 5, we have what are the components of a short story? Do you remember?
The
Yes, a point
plot,
of view.
the characters, the
Excellent.
setting, the conflict.
Perfect, guys. Yes, all of the ones that you mentioned, and thank you for participating. Uh, we have the characters, the plot, the setting, and those we have the conflict as well, and the end. Right, those are the components of a story and a short story, right? And these the characters, of course, is what the story is about, and you have the setting is where the story takes place. The conflict is the main kind of like the main uh, event, right? The problem, or what the author in the writer, sorry, wants to talk about, right? That's the main idea of it all in a story. And then, of course, you have the ending, which wrap up all of the ideas that the author has. So excellent, guys. Now we are going to move on to the next 3 questions that I have for you. Can anybody define what context clues are, either in grammar or in literature? What are context clues and what do we use them for? Ahead, guys. Anybody? What is, how can you define context clues? No? What do you do when you don't know a word in a, for example, in a book or in a story, in an essay, or sometimes in a movie? When you don't quite grasp or understand a word, what do you do to to kind of get the meaning.
I
Go ahead.
I clues in the context are hints or bits of information that help us understand the meaning of words we read that are difficult or strange.
Excellent. Perfect. Great. Great answer. Yeah. That's what context clues are, right? Either with a word or either with a whole sentence or paragraph. Sometimes in academic readings, we have to read about new topics, right? Or things, or we have words that we don't have any idea what they mean. So context clues, they help us understand the meaning without going into the dictionary and look for that particular word. Because sometimes when the words are very new or very difficult to us, sometimes going to the dictionary and looking for the word is not helpful much, right? So one of the things that you do is with context clues is you kind of based on the reading and the other words that you have on that particular sentence, paragraph, or story, you try to understand what that word means, or how it's used, whether it is an adjective, whether it is an adverb or a verb, and so on. One of the things that is important to recognize or to do is that when we are or using context, to to understand meaning, we can do it in two ways. We can do it by looking for words that are similar in meaning, so we understand what the word means, or we can do the opposite, which is go for look for the antonyms of the words, right? What would be the opposite definition to the word that we don't know? So those are the two ways that you can find out the meaning of a word or the context of a whole paragraph or story by using what is before and after the words. Now we have the second question in this. For this is what's the difference between fiction and nonfiction? Anybody would like to share? What's the difference between fiction and nonfiction? Come on, you know, guys.
That the fiction is not real and no fiction is real.
Perfect. Excellent answer. Thank you very much. So, fiction, as you were saying, it's based on, you can write about basically anything, right? And you can use your imagination to write about dragons, to write about fairy tales, or you can write anything that comes to mind. You can create a whole world uh, by using words and images. That's what you do in fiction, right? Examples of fiction in either in movies or in books will be, for example, Harry Potter. It's one of those, examples of fiction, and many Star Wars, which is, a movie, but it's based or is an example of fiction. And then we have nonfiction. What you were saying is it's based on reality, right? Most of the things that we have for nonfiction has to do with the people writing about their lives. An example of that would be a biography. And something important that you have to know about nonfiction is that everything has to be based on reality. There are some, you know, legal reasons that authors do not use real names or real places, but they stay close to reality, right? Because they want to give the readers the closest sense of reality as possible. And then the last one is when and why do we use past tense? Anybody knows?
We use it when we want to express actions that we did in the past.
Excellent, perfect, very good. We use past to talk about an action that started and finished in the past. And we use it, some of the words that give us a hint that we use in past is 3 days ago, last year, last month, last week, yesterday. Those words help us identify that we're talking about past, especially also when we use regular and irregular verbs, which is something that you were studying in the first term of the year. Are there any questions or any doubts? No questions?
No.
Okay, so we will move on to the third and last part of the class, which is I'm going to be explaining the 35%, the homework that you have, the 2 homework assignments that you have for this term. I'm going to start sharing in a second. I'm going to give you details, the dates, and how you're going to be evaluated, and what you have to do. So, the first activity has to do with the project that you were working on the first part of the year. You were working on a problem, right? That you post a problem. Now, for the second part, you're going to provide a solution, right? To that problem that you were stating on the first term. So, it's going to be, sorry, the date is wrong, but it's going to be ending on May the 20th, the 19th, sorry, May 19th. That's when you're going to, you have around 4 or 5 weeks to work on this project. The criteria is that you're going to be provide and present solutions that are viable, right? That are solutions that can be done to your problem. You better than anyone knows what's the solution to your problem and whether it's going to work or not. So then the other criteria is the grammar and the vocabulary, which you're going to be 30% of the whole 100, and it has to be a paragraph with the description of the problem, and it has to be structured properly, right? You have to use the correct grammar, the correct vocabulary, punctuation, and all of the things that portray to grammar and vocabulary. And the last of the criteria, which is the 20%, you're going to be, have to include all of the requirements that were given on the first term, which are the objectives, the extension of the text, meaning the research and the content. That's what you're going to have as a criteria. So far, any questions? Questions or doubts about the project?
And teacher, it is necessary that it has to be a PowerPoint or can be
Yeah,
with another
yeah,
application.
yeah. You can use another program, another platform, as long as you can even do Flipgrid if you want to. Remember, you don't have to show your faces, right? Just your voice. That's it. That's the only kind of like important requirement. That's the only one, the only thing that you have to comply with. But if you want to use Canvas or anything, it's up to you, right? And what you want to do it in your creativity. That's what you feel comfortable with. Now, to explain or to give you more details about this, It's the instructions for the next English fest. We will work on ongoing green project with the environment so we can live in a better place. To do this, you have to follow the steps. And what are the steps? Number one, work in the same groups that you were working on before. And you have to propose the possible solutions to the environmental issues that were presented on the first delivery. The actions must be stated clearly. The minimum of solution you must propose must be 5 and maximum 8. And you must be able to put them into practice. That's the only. That's kind of like the important thing about these solutions. You will present a PowerPoint or any other program that you want to use will be fine. And they are due on the 19th of, on the 20th of May. That's when you're going to hand them in. And that's my email for you to send that. And something important, right, that your faces must not be shown on the clip, only your voices, important. And there's a format below that you can follow if to put all of the content and all of the research or all of the proposals that you are going to be having. Remember, minimum 5, maximum 8. So far, are there any questions? No doubts on how you're going to be working on this? So this is an example of how the project is going to be presented. You have the school logo, the name of the project, a picture of that represents your topic, the subject, the level, the room, the names of all of the people working on that group. Then on the second one, you provide a short description of the environmental problem you have chosen. In the third one, you have the negative consequences of that issue. Why is it important to do something to stop or to lessen that problem? And on number 4, you are going to present the possible solution to this environmental issue. Are there any questions, guys, or any doubts? Questions or doubts? Please feel free to ask.
No, teacher.
No? Okay. So our second homework assignment, it has to do with a reading quiz. This reading quiz is going to be available for you on April the 20th, April the 19th, April the 19th, and it's going to be available until April the 20th, right? So you are going to have 24 hours to work on this reading quiz. To give you an idea, well, the evaluation criteria, you have to, the correctness of the comprehension of the exercises, right? Answering the questions and working on the exercises that you have on the reading, right? The more answers you get correct, the better the grade. Now, to access, you're going to access in the platform that you have been working on since before, which is the Santillana Richmond Learning Platform, and it will appear there. The reading assignment, it will be available, as I said, from Monday, April the 19th until Tuesday, April the 20th. And then once you finish with that, the grade will be assigned. And that's, it will take you around 45 minutes. There are 3 passages that you have to read with different exercises or different questions that you have to answer, but it will not take you more than 45 minutes. So do we have questions or doubts so far about the project, about this homework? This is your time to clear any doubts. Something that I didn't mention, I think, on the project is that this is the way you're going to um, send your email, right? Once you finish with the content and finish with the project, you're going to email, and the subject has to have, the number of the team, your grade, of course, whether you are eighth grade A, B, C, or D, then the team, whether you are 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and the name of the assignment. Any questions?
Teacher,
Yes.
for when is the second activity?
This activity is the reading quiz is on April 19th until April the 20th, in 2 weeks. And the project is due on May 21st. So around 6 weeks.
Thank
Teacher,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Well, in the video, do we have to add transitions or like effects? Like, do we have to add addition to the video?
That's up to you and what you feel comfortable with, right? The more effort you put into it, of course, to look better, it will be appreciated. But if you have like the five solutions, from 5 to 8 solutions, but you were not able to use transitions and all of that, it's not like you're going to lose points for that, right? So it's up to you and what you feel comfortable doing and how you want to present your work. So it's up to you. I don't know if there's any
Thank
more.
you.
You're welcome. Any more questions or any more doubts? Do we have any more doubts or questions regarding the homework assignment, the project, and the reading quiz that you're going to have?
No, teacher.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, and for participating. It was nice meeting everyone. I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see each other next week. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you, teacher. You too.
Bye, teacher.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, teacher.
Hi,
Bye.
teacher.
Bye.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye.
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 Bye, teacher.
Bye. Take care. Bye, everyone. Take care.